Okay, so today I'm going to talk to you about, I'm going to entitle this A Tale of Two Videos. And the first video that I'm going to talk to you about is a video that's called The Secret. Now, this video tells us that we can do or be whatever we want. All we need to know is the secret. The secret is all that has been, all that is, and all that will be. We all work with one infinite power. We all guide ourselves with one law, the law of attraction. The secret is the law of attraction. So everything that is coming into your life, you're attracting it to you. Whatever is going on in your mind, you're attracting to you. We need to think of ourselves as a magnet. You attract what you want to attract and become what you want to become. Thoughts become things. Thoughts have frequency, and if you think it over and over again, you send these magnetic thoughts out. Most people don't think about what they don't want and wonder, or they do think about what they don't want to happen. They wonder why it shows up over and over and over again. The law of attraction is obedience. Law of attraction will give you what you want every single time. If you think about things that you don't want, you're calling that into being. It manifests the things that you're thinking. And the law of attraction is always working. If your thoughts are flowing, the law of attraction is working. You don't press pause, you don't press stop, it's forever flowing. Anytime you have a thought, creation is happening. If you're creating how bad something is, it will be that bad. When we are negative and angry, we attract negative and angry situations. So if we look carefully at the power of our minds, it's all around us. The law of attraction is everywhere. You draw everything to you. What you think about is what happens. It's not wishful thinking or imaginary craziness. Deeper basic understandings, the mind is shaping the very thing that is being perceived. Now, we probably don't all understand electricity, but we know it's there and we enjoy the benefits of it. It's the same thing with the secret. People become frightened of negative thoughts once they understand the secret. But a positive thoughts eliminates negative. So we need to be aware of our thoughts. We need to choose our thoughts. We are the masterpiece of our own lives, and we do it with our very own thoughts. So the life-transforming overall giant secret, thoughts and feelings on autopilot. We need to monitor our thoughts. Where the fun begins is that we know it's impossible to monitor 60,000 thoughts per day. An easier way is to let our feelings to guide us. We know our feelings let us know what we're thinking. Emotions are an incredible gift that we have. We have good and we have bad feelings. And bad feelings don't make us feel empowered. Bad vibes or bad frequencies don't make us feel empowered. But on the flip side, good feelings, good emotions, we feel that way every day. We celebrate good feelings. So what we're attracting, we need to keep doing that to get the good things. When we see that we have the good things, we're attracting good things, are we on track, are we off track? We need to watch our desires. The law of attraction works every day. Whatever we're thinking, whatever we feel today is creating our future. So we know that a simple shifting of emotions can change our entire day and our entire life. If you don't change your mood, you're going to continue to attract bad things. So we need to begin right now to feel healthy, prosperous, even if we're not there. The nature of the universe will respond to our moods. Thoughts and feelings are what we attract into our universe. A shift in awareness can undo any bad things that we have created in the past. We need to send good thoughts into the universe so that we can attract good things. We can put on a piece of nice music, think of something beautiful, dwell on it. Keep that thought in our mind. Start feeling good. Bring goodness into our life, and what a gift. Once we understand, that's where our freedom and power is. What we are as a deliberate creator of our life. We are the master of our life. Life can and should and will be phenomenal when we start using the secret. So that was the first video. So the question is, are there scientific claims to the secret? Well, from what I can see, no. There are no scientific references in this video. The main idea of the video is that we all work with one infinite power. We all guide ourselves with one law, the law of attraction, and the secret is the law of attraction. The key point is that the law of attraction is always working. If our thoughts are flowing, the law of attraction is working. We don't press pause, we don't press stop, it's forever flowing. And since there are no specific examples of scientific evidence, there's nothing that I could point out regarding correct or faulty scientific claims. So then the second video that I want to discuss is The New Era of Positive Psychology by Martin Seligman. And he talks about the 11th reason to be optimistic and the state of psychology today. He starts out by asking, what is the state of psychology today? And his answer is, not good enough. And he talks about why psychology was good, why it was not good, and how it may become good in the next 10 years, and how it can become good enough. So, why was psychology good? Well, for more than 60 years, psychology worked within the disease model. 10 years ago, when he was on an airplane and he introduced himself as a psychologist, people would move away from him. They were saying that psychology is about finding what's wrong with you, how to spot the loony in the audience. So now when he tells people what he does, they move toward him. So what's good about psychology today is that 60 years ago, none of the disorders were treatable. It was entirely smoke and mirrors. But now there are 14 of the disorders that are treatable, and 2 of them are actually curable. The other thing that happened is that with a science that developed, a science of mental illness, we found out that we could take fuzzy concepts like depression and alcoholism, and measure them. That we could create a classification of the mental illness, that we could understand the causality of the mental illness. We could look across time at the same people, example, who were genetically vulnerable to schizophrenia, and ask what the contribution of mothering, of genetics, and we could isolate different variables by doing experiments on the mental illness. Best of all, that we were able in the last 50 years to invent drug treatments and psychological treatments. We were able to test them in random assignment with placebo and controlled designs, and throw out the things that didn't work and keep the things that actually did. The conclusion is that psychology and psychiatry over the last 60 years can actually claim that they have made miserable people less miserable, and that in itself is terrific. But what was not good were the consequences of 3 things. The first was moral, that psychologists and psychiatrists became victimologists, pathologizers, that in the view of human nature was that if you were in trouble, bricks would fall on you. And we forgot that people made choices and decisions. We forgot responsibility. That was the first cost. The second cost is that we forgot about people. We forgot about improving normal lives. We forgot about a mission to make relatively untroubled people happier and more fulfilled and more productive. No one works on that. So the third problem about the disease model is in our rush to do something about people in trouble, in our rush to do something about repairing damage, it didn't occur to us to develop interventions to make people happier with positive interventions. So that wasn't good. And that's what led people like the person talking on the video, and Nancy Edkoff and Dan Gilbert and Mike Csikszentmihalyi to work on something that they call positive psychology. Positive psychology has 3 aims. That we should be just as concerned with weakness, concerned with building strength as repairing damage, and that we should be interested in the best things in life. That we should be just as concerned with making the lives of normal people fulfilling as with nurturing high talent. And the upshot of that is that the mission for psychology to have would be, in addition to curing mentally ill, in addition to making miserable people less happy, could psychology actually make people happier? So he believes that there were 3 different interventions. It's possible to have one rather than the other, 3 different happy lives. The first happy life would be the pleasant life. That would be a life in which you have as much positive emotion as you possibly can and the skills to amplify it. The second would be a life of engagement, a life in your work, your parenting, your love, your leisure, that time stops. And the third would be that of a meaningful life. The pleasant life, is simple. It's having as many pleasures as you can, as much positive emotion as you can, and learning the skills for savory mindfulness and amplifying them so that they stretch out over time and space. And he also states that a pleasant life has 3 drawbacks, and it's why positive psychology is not happyology and why it doesn't end there. The first drawback is that it turns out that the pleasant life, where you experience an emotion, has about 50% heritable. And in fact, it's very modifiable. So the different tricks that he has used to increase the amount of positive in life, emotion in life, is about 15 to 20% tricks, getting more of it. Second is that positive emotion habituates rapidly. It's like French vanilla ice cream. The first taste is 100%, and by the time you're down to 6 tastes, it's gone. And it's not particularly malleable. Then he talks about the second life, and he talks about his friend Lynn having more positive emotion and was with building on pleasure. He had two of the great arenas, and by the time he was 30, he was enormously successful. The first arena was work. By the time he was 20, he was an options trader, and by the time he was 25, he was a multimillionaire and the head of an options trading company. Second in play, he was a national champion bridge player, but in the third great arena of life, in love, he was an abysmal failure. He was considered a cold fish, and people wanted nothing to do with him. So the results surprised the people who were conducting the study. What they found out that it was possible to have the pursuit of pleasure with no contribution to life satisfaction. The pursuit of meaning was the strongest. The pursuit of engagement also was very strong. But where pleasure matters is that we have both engagement and meaning. If you've got all three, you have everything, and if you don't have any of the three, you have an empty, sunless life. So we're asking now, does the very same relationship, physical, health, morbidity, how long you live, and productivity, does it all follow the same relationship? That is health a function of positive engagement and pleasure? Is productivity a function of positive emotion, engagement, and meaning? And is there a reason to think that the answer to both of these may very well be yes? So his conclusion was that the 11th reason was optimism. Is what you think with technology, entertainment, and design, well, we can actually increase the amount of human happiness on the planet. And if technology can in the next decade or two increase the pleasant life, the good life, the meaningful life, it will be good enough. If entertainment can be diverting to also increase positive emotion meaning, it will be good enough. And if design can increase positive emotion and flow of meaning, what we're all doing together will become good enough. So that was the second video. And as far as scientific claims, he references himself, Nancy Edcoff, Dan Gilbert, Mike Csikszentmihalyi, how they work together for something called positive psychology, and he lists out 3 segments that they aim for and some processes that took place. So he did have some scientific claims there. We also know that psychology and that in itself is something that is reputable, and we have a lot of data supporting that. The main idea was how to live a happy life. The key points was finding ways to increase human happiness in life. So the specific examples cited on how psychiatry's aim to improve people's lives is sound scientific information. So when we consider which video is more scientifically sound, I have to go with the second video because I don't believe there was any scientific evidence referenced to in the first video. And we know that psychology does benefit people. People are able to live happier, more productive lives as a benefit of psychological help. So then the last point that I want to talk about is the stress that I personally deal with on a daily basis. My stress is a direct result of my job. I am under a lot of pressure to deliver specific results, and I don't exercise or rest my mind often enough. So using the psychological concepts that I have learned in this project, I fully intend to change this. I am determined to get more exercise, to channel positive energy and thoughts, and to work on making circumstances in my life as positive and happy as possible. I might not have 100% agreed with the first video, but it's worth a try. And I intend to exercise that right to try that and see if I can bring more positive energy into my life and that universe around myself. Lastly, I want to thank you for listening to my video, and I wish you less stress in your life. Please take time to reduce the stress because, as we have learned, I have learned in this project, stress is a killer. Thank you. Okay, so I am going to record an addendum to, this is an addendum to my previous video submission on the secret versus positive psychology, a tale of 2 videos. So what I would like to add to this is I want to talk a little bit about the different types of stress that I deal with personally on a daily basis within my work life and my home life. Basically with work, I'm faced with multiple deadlines, and many times they are going to all have the same level of severity, and it makes it very difficult to prioritize and to evaluate which project I need to tackle first. So I'm a manager for a large company, and I'm responsible for multi-million-dollar accounts. I also have 43 associates that report to me, and I'm responsible for their production, their timeliness, as well as their quality. I also have several platforms within the company that I'm responsible to make sure are available to my associates. So additionally, I have to also ensure that all reports, documents, that they're all uploaded and available within the appropriate timeline so the associates have them so that they can complete their projects. I also have to make sure that I'm available for any ad hoc meetings that come up, as well as making sure that I attend any regularly scheduled meetings that I have or conference calls. And I have found in the past that sometimes I get so wrapped up in different projects that I'm doing that I look at the clock and think, okay, I got 5 minutes, I can finish doing this, and then I need to jump on that call. And then I'll look up the clock, it seems like just a second later, and it's 15 minutes gone by, and I'm already 10 minutes late for my meeting. So those are the types of things that really add stress to my day with my work life. So my home life also comes into play and adds more levels of stress to my daily life. I have children that are still home. I have to make sure that they're bathed, fed, dressed, make sure that they're ready for the bus and for daycare. I have to get the one to daycare every day, make sure I'm back on time for any meetings that I have going on. Then after school, I have to make sure that I'm available when the one comes in from the bus, showing me all of his work that he's done for the day. I have to show that interest there. I have to make sure that I help with the homework, and then I have to get dinner. I have to listen to what's transpired from their day, make sure I'm at daycare in time to pick the baby up. I have to make sure that they eat their meals, make sure that they have any medications that they might need, as well as nightly bedtime rituals and getting them to bed on time, and then making sure the house is picked up for the next day. It's just on and on and on. And those stress levels mount during the day as you encounter all the different items that have to be taken care of and that transpire throughout the day. In addition, with my home life, I'm also a full-time caretaker for my parents. I live in an adjoining duplex to them. Thank goodness at the current time there's not a lot that has to be done, but I have to make sure that they have the food that they need in their home. I have to make sure that their doctor's appointments are scheduled, and if they need me to go with them, I need to make sure I'm there with them to be able to translate any thing that the doctor may say. So there's a lot of stress that goes with work and with home life for me that I have to balance. For the most part, I think the majority of the time I handle the stress fairly well. I do that by making sure, first of all, that I get adequate rest and adequate exercise. I have to make sure that within all of that bedlam that transpires during the day, I do take time to exercise. I have to make sure that I take stretching breaks during the day. I've got to make sure that I get out and just clear my head. Sometimes just walking around the block, that helps. I can still do work items while I'm walking and thinking. But sometimes that's what I just need to get away from the desk and be able to do things like that to help release some of that stress. When I begin to feel overloaded, I will make myself sit down, evaluate the situations, and evaluate what must be the highest priority, what I need to tackle first. If I have a variety of items, then I might just decide, okay, this can be tackled first because I can get this done and this done and this done and get these 3 things out of the way, and then I can concentrate on this big item that's really looks overwhelming to me. And when I break things down in pieces, a lot of times then I can start to conquer the big giants as I break them down into pieces. So I've also learned that I can get help from coworkers and from family. I've learned to do a lot of delegating. That goes a long way to helping with stress levels. And so, like I said, for the most part, I do balance the stress fairly well. A few months ago, I was faced with some serious personal issues. And there were also some major changes going on at work with some layoffs and some things that I had to have some major critical decisions that I had to be part of. At that time, there were some personal things going on within my life that I had to deal with. And it was right about that time that I got the information back from CFA that I had not followed some of the criteria to the expectations that should have been followed, some misunderstandings that I had on my part. And I did not take that very well. I didn't handle all that stress that hit me in a way that I would have thought that I would have handled it. I had to just more or less back off for a few months, and I kind of dropped the ball with school. I've kind of let everything just sit there while I was regrouping. I think that was my way of handling all that extra stress. I had to prioritize my family and my work, and at that time I had to just let school go for a few months. And since things have started settling down, I've been able to regroup, I've been able to reprioritize, and now I am at a point that I can accept on that responsibility again. I'm able to rekindle that desire to complete my AA degree, and I'm finally getting back on track with that. So I guess, a long story short, I have always been a very hardy individual. I have an appropriate amount of self-efficacy. I am able to adapt to most situations. I am usually able to ensure that I can conquer any problem by adapting to the situation. I've also found that remaining optimistic can help me stay and fight when situations get rough. I think, like I said a few months ago, the fight or flight scenario came into play, and I took the flight route as far as school and dropped that for a few months. But now I've chosen to take the ball back up and start fighting. No more fleeing for me, no more flight. Basically, I've learned to adapt the 4 A's. Avoid, alter, adapt, and accept. I've tried to avoid unnecessary stress. Altering, I've been able to do that by altering certain situations that cause the stress. And then in some instances, I've had to adapt the situations that's causing the stress. And then finally, I'm learning to accept things that I can't change and to just find a way to make it work. So with that final thought, I'm going to wrap up this addendum. I want to thank you for taking the time to listen, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.